L51 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is holding to a similar pattern here. We're changing a date for the Department or the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. So it allows them to adopt those codes on the same timeline as the state architect, January 1st, 2025 or 2020 or January 1st, 2030 for the low model carbon codes. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L51 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report. Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move L013 and ask that it be displayed.
L013 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So L013 adds an electric-ready definition, and it cleans up the citations, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on Representative Valdez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would also ask for an aye vote and thank Representative Duran for the work that she's done to help us get this issue fixed.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much. I guess I just have one question as I read this. When we talk electric ready, we are creating a definition. You have the definition here. It means adequate panel capacity, dedicated electric panel space, electrical wire, electrical receptacles, adequate physical space to accommodate future installation of high-efficiency electric appliances, including heating, water heating, cooking, drying, and an electric vehicle. I would be delighted if the sponsors said that somewhere along the way this goes along with a cost model for what this means. Right? You've got the definition here of what electric ready is, but I think if you want to help consumers out, tell them what this costs. Tell them what the increased cost will be. I know what it is for me, and I know what it is to provide electricity to the structure, and then I also know what it means in larger gauge wiring, everything else. But there ought to probably be some way of letting people know what's coming.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Along with that, I would also point out that in the original bill, it said that the builder had to offer this as an option as opposed to mandating every production. Is that still correct?
Further discussion. Representative Burnett.
No, it's not an option, but I want to respond to the energy code. There's going to be an advisory committee that will, and this is one of the amendments that will come up a little bit later. The in L46, which we've already adopted, there will be an advisory board that will identify a model electric ready and solar energy code by October 1st, 2022. So it's a whole advisory board, okay?
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I conflated the wrong bill.
Further discussion on Amendment L13. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L13 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report. Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move L014 and ask that it be displayed.
And L014 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So L014 adds clarifying language about mixed fuel use buildings over 10,000 square feet, meeting requirements via pre-wiring. And I ask for a yes vote.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much. Again, your advisory panel ought to take into account just what this means, just what it means to the cost of structures. And maybe in a way, when you're talking about codes, what you probably ought to do is just pre-think when the advisory panel is meeting, how codes interrelate with cost. Because if we're going to change codes for things, if we're going to electrify the world, we're already hearing that we probably don't have all the products we need, but that advisory panel might want to think about what that's doing to affordable housing and the ability to do all the things that are being required.
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Minority. You'll be happy to know that that's actually one of the main functions of the panel is to look at what are the cost impacts and if waivers need to be issued to preserve the affordability of housing. So it does just that. And again, thank you, Representative Duran, for the work you did to help us get this figured out. I would ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L14 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the Energy and Environment Committee report, Representative Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask that L015 amendment be displayed. I move it and I display it, ask that it be displayed. Sorry about that. Okay.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This directs the Energy Office to work with additional stakeholders to develop codes and allows local governments to use grant dollars for grant writing assistance and increases funding for local governments from $1 million to $2 million. I ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L15 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report. Representative Doherty.
I move Amendment L16 and ask for it to be displayed.
L16 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Amendment L16 clarifies that an appliance with a like appliance does not trigger pre-wire requirements, and I ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L16 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report, Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Believe it or not, I have another amendment. Amendment L017. I ask that it be displayed.
We are here to serve and so happy. Amendment L17 is... We're going to say it's properly before us. Please proceed.
Why, thank you, Mr. Chair. L17 adds the definition of solar ready and aligns with definitions in some other pieces of statute, so we don't have confusion with some other bills that have been passed this session. I would ask for an aye vote.
Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Representative Cutter, could you come down and tell these people just how much paper they're wasting on this? I mean, I feel like these two bills should not exist in the same space.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have to wonder how much of this is recycled paper.
Further discussion on this bill and this amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L17 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L19 and ask for it to be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you. This amendment allows grant dollars to be used for non-electric innovative technologies, and I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L19 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The amendment passes. To the committee report, Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm back to offer an amendment. I'd like to move L045. Ask that it be displayed.
L45 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. L45 ensures that there is no double counting for renewable energy credits. This was a concern of some of our friends at the utilities, ensuring that we didn't have double payment on renewable energy credits. Also, helps our rural CREA net metering language, so this helps us to align language once again with 1218. Ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L45 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Representative Burnett, we're to the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L26 and ask that it be displayed.
1 second, we'll get that displayed. The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we need a little drum roll because this is the last amendment to the committee report. And it's also one that I think many of our colleagues will really like. It directs the Colorado Energy Office to work with stakeholders to minimize costs associated with meeting electric and solar-ready code requirements for large and multi-family commercial and mixed fuel use buildings to ensure conversion to high-efficiency buildings that can happen at the lowest possible cost. And it defines substantial cost differential as a cost greater than 1% of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing work, and provides a waiver process for pre-wiring if it exceeds the substantial cost differential. I ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L26 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. Minority Leader McKinney.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So thank you. Thank you for putting something in here that does not just say, we're pursuing an ideological goal no matter, damn the cost, we're doing this. And especially line 34 is used in subsection 2D2. Substantial cost differential means 1% or greater of the total mechanical, electrical, or plumbing construction costs on the project. That's a big deal. 1% still a lot, but I'm glad that we're looking at what it means.
Further discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L26 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report, Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Is there further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a great bill. And 1362 is a labor of love. We've worked very hard to create a framework around creating a bill that will ensure that we are building properties that are designed and built to save people money. Also, we have the added benefit of saving water, making sure that we don't have greenhouse gas emissions that are in excess of the plan that we've already adopted for a state. We will have a few amendments, but I really just want to communicate the importance of this bill at a time when our state is experiencing numerous different climate-related crises. Right now, it is very windy. There is a fire right now. So we need to be mindful of everything that we're doing to reduce future risk. We think this bill helps us by ensuring that we're building better homes and creating a future that's going to create more savings for Coloradans. And I would ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Yes. We have two amendments. No?
She's got to talk. She's going to run the amendments.
Further discussion on the bill.
She's going to write it.
Representative Pico.
Okay, so I'm next, right?
Excuse me, sir.
We've got another.
You want to talk on the bill?
Okay. Go ahead, you can talk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the amendments. I appreciate the change. It's a lot more workable. It has a lot better guardrails on it. I'm still opposed to the bill. I don't believe that this is necessarily something we need to be doing on there. I'm particularly concerned that building codes are issues of local control. Local city councils, local county commissioners, regional building authorities, which is what we have in El Paso County, that's who adopts these codes. We already have the process that adopts things as they become available. In a lot of these cases, we're betting ahead that we know what these things are going to be. The phrase that has been used in this, in most of these amendments are equal to or better than, and that is a key phrase that makes us in the maybe category. And also, the cost limitation is a crucial part, but I'm still stand opposed to the bill. I don't believe this is something we need to do at this time. Thank you.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you. Oh, nope. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to bring an amendment for the bill, so I move L10 and ask that it be displayed. It's for the kids. I'm just kidding. It's for the kids.
People said nice things, like...
L10 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. So in the spirit of the love in which we're all feeling up here, I'd like to move this amendment on behalf of those with disabilities. This amendment was worked on with Representative Ortiz and the sponsors to be sure that the bill is inclusive of those who have disabilities. And so the amendment ultimately says that if you're in the process of doing renovations, particularly to make spaces accessible, that they should be exempt from the codes. And the real reason of this is that, this community is particularly struck by costs in making a world built for those who are able, accessible for them. And they also have increased financial challenges in other communities. And so just hoping that this doesn't get in the way, unfortunately, of them being able to access their world. And so I urge an aye vote.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm rather curious on 2 points. One, I'm not sure that this fits under the bill title, number one. And number two would be, I think you're asking for an exemption because the cost is too much to generate these kinds of savings, supposed, and should be exempted for those who have a disability. I think you're validating the concern that these cost too much. So 2 questions on that.
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that question, Representative Pico. I think what we're trying to do here is account for the fact that building out for a person with disabilities is a lot different than just kind of a standard construction job. We want to take that into account and be responsive to that. We like this amendment, and for that reason, I think we'd ask for an aye vote. But it's a different type of construction, I think, is the basic answer, and we heard about that. We stakeholdered around that, and we agree that there's some differences that we need to potentially account for.
Further discussion on the amendment. Representative Burnett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I really like this bill because for someone who, especially an elderly person, this allows them, if they get a disability, then they can age in place. They don't have to worry about any code updates. They can get the disability renovations that they need to stay in their homes. So I am very much in support of this amendment.
Further discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L10 to House Bill 1362. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill. Representative Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L12 and ask that it be displayed. This is just simply a
1 second, we'll just get that before us.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is simply a cleanup.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill just simply saves residents and businesses money on utility costs. It's billing right the first time to avoid expensive retrofits for electric vehicles.
I got to call the amendment.
Okay, call the amendment. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it did. Go ahead.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L12 to House Bill 1362. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, I'm a little tired tonight, but this bill saves residents. This bill saves residents and businesses money on utility costs by building right the first time to avoid expensive retrofits on electric vehicles, solar panels, and clean heat. I ask for the adoption of House Bill 1362 as amended.
Further discussion on House Bill 1362. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1362 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1362 as amended is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1308.
House Bill 1308 by Representative McCormick concerning the creation of the Colorado Agricultural Workforce Services Program in the Department of Agriculture to provide resources specific to agricultural employment.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1308, the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee report and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the Appropriations Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We amended the bill to fund the education portal part of this bill, but not the grant program. And at this time, and that cuts the fiscal note by over 50%. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water report. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Ag, Livestock, and Water Committee, we amended the bill to clarify that the Department of Agriculture may consult with cooperative extension agents from CSU working with producers in the field, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The committee report passes. To the bill, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Isn't this fun? The HB 1308, it creates the Agriculture Workers Educational Resource Program. And as we all know, agriculture is the backbone of Colorado's economy. And last year, I know you all know this as well, that we passed a number of basic workplace protections and they were put into law. This bill's purpose is to provide a resource for both agriculture employers and their employees to better educate themselves on how to comply with these changes in the law. And as a business owner myself, I know how challenging it can be to implement new state regulations, and this bill makes that challenge more approachable for farmers and ranchers across our state. The bill establishes the Agricultural Workforce Services Program within the Colorado Department of Ag, which will be an online multilingual portal with information and resources for agricultural workers, employers regarding workplace safety, compliance, and other resources. It'll be for both employers and employees to learn new parts of the Colorado law, give them resources and tips on improving labor compliance issues. That no one will be required to use the portal. The resources will be there only for those who choose to use them. And I just want to make a note that this whole idea was brought to me by agricultural employer industry representatives who have been traveling across the state, trying to get the word out to both employers and employees. And they were asking for such a tool to be implemented. And I'm happy to report it passed unanimously in our wonderful Ag Committee because we do good bills. I ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion, Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, Representative.
One of the things I wanted to bring in front of the body is that, to begin with, evidently the Department of Agriculture doesn't realize that we don't all have broadband. These are the kind of things that the state brings to us and says, okay, we're going to fix the problem. This is a good enough bill. That's not the point. The point is that there are people out there that are the employers that need to be made aware of what happened in Senate Bill 87 in order to meet the regulations. But simply opening a portal is not going to be enough for the state of Colorado's employers in the state of Colorado to keep up with what's changing. So I'm bringing the notice to you that we need to talk about getting that broadband out in the rest of the state. Because we've got a number of people that are employers of 3, 2, 1 different employee that don't even have a computer. Where do they get the information? It's supposed to come from the extension agencies. That's what I'm trying to get at, and we talked about this in committee, was that we need some way to make sure that the employers, and we're not talking about people who hire 30 to 50 individuals, we're talking about people who hire 1 or 2 men to work on the farm. Yet they are not computer literate. They don't have any idea really what happened with Senate Bill 87. Yet they're going to be the ones that are subject to some of the rules and regulations that came down out of Senate Bill 87. I want us to be aware of that, because it won't be long before in the next session someone will bring a bill talking about we need to get the information out so that people are aware of it. A portal doesn't answer everybody's questions. A portal is not a portal to the rest of the world if you don't have the navigating skills and/or the hookup to the internet. There are people in my district that do not have internet to their house, yet they're expected to keep up on what's going on. This is a place I think the extension agencies and the Department of Agriculture need to come together. We heard in testimony that people were having 3- and 5-hour training sessions with employers around the state of Colorado to get them up to speed that things have changed, that their world has changed. The horizon is different. The landscape is different. You don't just work people anymore. There's a lot of reporting. There's a lot of things that go on differently. So please, members, when you vote for this bill, be aware this is not the only answer. And we need to be looking at those kind of answers if we want to keep agriculture as the backbone of the state of Colorado. Thank you.
Further discussion on House Bill 1308. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1308 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1308 as amended passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1392.
House Bill 1392 by Representatives Burton and Lindsay, also Senator Moreno, concerning the extension of state tax incentives affecting the use of real property to promote community development and in connection therewith extending the contaminated land state income tax credit and property tax exemption for affordable housing projects.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move House Bill 1392 and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the Appropriations Report.
In the Appropriations Committee, we amended our bill to limit the sunset on this bill. So instead of extending the tax credit for an additional 10 years, we moved it to 2 years, and also limited the cap on the brownfields tax credit from $7 million to $5 million a year. I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Currently, developers of affordable housing in Colorado can qualify for a state property tax exemption. They do this by qualifying under federal statute. The federal statute was 15 years. It was extended to an additional 15 to 30. The state exemption is still only 15. So the Section 1 simply allows properties to qualify for the state exemption for an additional 15 years as long as they continue to qualify as affordable housing under federal law.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, this is a great bill. It does two important things, the first of which is extend the time period upon which land can be exempt from property taxation, as Representative Lindsay just described. The other part, though, is to extend the environmental remediation tax credits. So under current law, claims for credit are required to first be certified by the Hazardous Material and Waste Management Division in the Department of Public Health and Environment. Beginning in 2022, the bill increases the amount of credit that CDPHE may certify a year from $3 million to $5 million, which I had mentioned earlier is a time we amended a date, or rather amount, that we amended in the Appropriations Committee. This has been a great tax credit that has encouraged the purchase, the sale, and the reuse of land that has been previously contaminated and deemed unusable and unsaleable. This is great for our communities. We also push out and give extra advantages for this tax credit to be used in rural communities so that more people have the opportunity to remediate contaminated land. Before moving the bill, though, or moving on to asking for a yes vote, we do have an amendment to make a clarifying change in the bill. So I move Amendment L001 and ask that it be displayed.
And the amendment is properly before us. Please proceed. Representative Byrd.
Thank you again, Representative Basenecker. So this amendment just cleans up an odd reference to CDPHE and changes it to the Department of Revenue, essentially making it clear that it is the Department of Revenue that is entitled to rely on the certification of ownership of the tax credit and the amount that the taxpayer may claim, rather than CDPHE being entitled to rely on the tax credit that it has approved. I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L1 to House Bill 1392. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill, Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a great bill. It'll help us preserve and maintain affordable housing stock and also encourage people to clean up environmentally contaminated land. We ask for a yes vote on the bill.
Is there any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1392 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1392 as amended is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title of House Bill 1366.
House Bill 1366 by Representative Kipp, also Senator Bridges, concerning increasing access to post-secondary workforce readiness with financial aid information.
Representative Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move HB 22-1366 and the Appropriations Report and the House Education Report.
To the Appropriations Report.
In the Appropriations Report, we just slashed all kinds of money off of this bill, so it's much less expensive and leaves more money for the rest of your bills.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the Education Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Education Report, we just made a few amendments to that we had missed in the initial drafting of the bill to pull everything into the right place, and I think we ended up in a good one.
Is there any further discussion on the Education Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Education Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The goal of HB 22-1366 is to utilize one-time funds to bolster the post-secondary and workforce readiness of Colorado students by creating greater awareness, participation, and understanding of cost and ways to pay for industry training and higher education, including the completion rates of federal and state financial aid forms, the FAFSA and the CASFA, and making post-secondary options more accessible and affordable. HB 22-1366 puts the resources behind building blocks already in place that will support to develop financial literacy sample curriculum related to financial aid completion as related to workforce certificate and degree options. It will provide grant funding for the implementation of financial literacy curriculum to create partnerships and resources to increase FAFSA and CASFA completion rates and enhance financial literacy and federal and state financial aid applications as part of student ICAPs, and support for increased federal and state financial aid application completion by modernization of the current state web tool for federal and state financial aid applications, toolkits and communication resources for parents and educators in multiple languages, educator stipends for completion of training for federal and state financial aid applications. The reason behind this is that we really believe that we leave millions and millions of dollars, probably on the order of $30 or more million on the table every single year because kids don't fill out their free application for federal student aid and the corresponding state application. So we don't want to leave money on the table, which our kids could be using for post-secondary success. So I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1366? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1366 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1366 as amended is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1385.
House Bill 1385 by Representative Titone, concerning the implementation of the Colorado Operations Resource Engine Upgrade Project.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, Representative.
All right. I move House Bill 1385 and the Business Committee report.
To the Business Affairs and Labor Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, in the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we amended the bill to make some fixes that the Department of Treasury needed to make this bill work. It fixes some of the language about how the COP operates, and I ask for a yes vote on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Business Affairs and Labor Report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Business Affairs and Labor Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Tatone.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So 1385 comes from the Joint Technology Committee. In the Joint Technology Committee, we were prioritizing some projects, and this project came up. And back in the original days when this computer program, this IT system was paid for, they used the COP. And that's a certificate of participation. And it's kind of a loan. So when they wanted to do this upgrade to the system, which is going to increase the capabilities of this IT system, they wanted to use that same payment method of using a COP. Well, we approved that, and the JBC didn't agree that that's the way they wanted to do it, so they funded it with general fund. So this bill will change it back to using a COP, and it'll put the money back in the general fund so we can use that for other stuff. And they're going to use a low-interest COP loan and do the things that they're familiar with, and that's what the bill does. Ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1385? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1385 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1385 as amended is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1251.
House Bill 1251 by Representative Roberts, also Senator Bridges, concerning the creation of the Office of Cardiac Arrest Management in the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1251, the Appropriations Committee report, and the Health and Insurance Committee report.
Thank you. To the Appropriations report.
In the Appropriations Committee, just a few minutes ago, they appropriated money to fund the program. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the Health and Insurance report, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Health and Insurance Committee, we adopted a strike below amendment that significantly pared down the bill to the minimum of what we were trying to get done, significantly reduced the fiscal note as well. And with that, I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Health and Insurance Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Health and Insurance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Health and Insurance Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, very happy to bring forward House Bill 1251. Some of you may know, some of you may not know, but sudden cardiac arrest is one of our nation's and state's leading causes of death. It can strike anybody literally at any time without warning. We need to do so much more in Colorado to help recognize when it's happening and how to respond to it, and that's what this bill is all about. This bill creates the Office of Cardiac Arrest Management within the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and that office will aim to reduce barriers to collecting and analyzing data around cardiac arrest so that our first responders and the general public can know more about when this disease strikes people. It also will fund an awareness program that will enhance access to life-saving AEDs that greatly improve somebody's chance of surviving when sudden cardiac arrest strikes. This is a really important step for our state that will literally save lives. With that, I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1251? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1251 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1251 as amended is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1013.
House Bill 1013 by Representatives Pelton and Snyder, also Senators Heisey and Winter, concerning the creation of a grant program to build community resilience regarding electric grid disruptions through the development of microgrids.
Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would say what an honor it is to serve with you, sir.
Representative Snyder, the honor is certainly all mine.
So I move House Bill 1013, the Energy and Environment Report, and the Appropriations Report.
To the Appropriations Report. Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, we were over just an hour ago over in appropriations, got a nice haircut, and we're back here, and we're very happy with that. We basically reduced the amount of the grant funds that's going to start, and we appropriated some money over to the Governor's Energy Office, which will be explained momentarily. So with that, I ask for an aye vote on the Appropriations Committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes.
We put on there.
To the Energy and Environment report, Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Energy and Environment Committee, we put on an amendment basically to put priority onto renewable energy sources such as batteries, solar arrays, things like that.
Is there any further discussion on the Energy and Environment Committee report? Representative Snyder.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we do have an amendment, and I move L006, an amendment to that committee report on second reading. Sorry.
Oh, no.
L6 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this basically codifies what Representative Pelton was just talking about. It requires the Governor's Energy Office and DOLA to work together to set up the criteria and how exactly the grant program is going to work. And so this was really well stakeholdered with the Governor's Energy Office, and it was very well received in the Energy and Environment Committee. We just didn't get a chance. It was so long ago that we almost forgot about it. So I'm glad we remembered. And with that, I ask for a yes vote on Amendment L006.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L6 to the Energy Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report. Representative Pelton.
To the bill or committee?
We're still on the committee report.
Yeah, we had another amendment in the committee to put a priority on renewable type energy generation for these microgrids.
And Representative Pelton, you have another amendment? Oh, okay. Is there any further discussion on the Energy and Environment Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Energy and Environment Committee report is passed. To the bill. Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So House Bill 1013 is really an essential bill for our rural communities and our rural electrics. It's really going to bolster their ability to set up resiliency in those systems. We had testimony in committee about Poudre Valley and the microgrid resiliency they have up there, also from out in Aspen area. They have that also. Basically, this will allow for those critical first few hours or days of when you're having a catastrophic event, most likely a fire, but it could be other things too. And you know, one of the first things that happen is either your grid gets damaged and is off, or it actually gets shut down by the emergency officials to make sure that nothing, gets worse with the electricity. So in those first few hours and days when electricity's out, it allows them to power up their emergency operations center, their local hospital, their fire department, their evacuation center. And I think we've learned from the hard way that those first few hours, first few days are critical in getting a handle on fighting a fire and also keeping people safe. So This is not a great amount of money. We're expecting a lot of money to hopefully come in through one of the federal programs, but this program will be up and running, and it will allow for that federal money to seamlessly enter into Colorado and get it out into the rural communities where it's very much needed.
Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Out there on the plains, we've dealt with a lot of dust storms this spring. Some of them can last for days. And we've had blizzards that came in like 1977. 3 days solid, you could not see even the end of the hood of your pickup. So when that happens, a lot of these small rural communities only have one leg of electricity coming in. It goes down, you can be out for weeks. So what this does is, like Representative Snyder said, it keeps our emergency services and things like that going. So I'd urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1013? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1013 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1013 as amended passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1355.
House Bill 1355 by Representative Cutter, also Senators Priola and Gonzalez, concerning the creation of the Producer Responsibility Program for statewide recycling.
Representative Cutter, we are to the bill.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. I'd like to move House Bill 1355 as amended.
To the bill, Representative Cutter.
Well, we have made lots of amendments and had lots of good conversations, and I would ask for your support on House Bill 1355.
Further discussion on House Bill 1355. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's an honor to serve with you. I actually
It is an
kind of
honor
thought
to serve
there'd be
with you.
A little bit more said here, so appreciate being able to come down this moment in time. We heard this in committee, and obviously we have a lot of concerns with this bill, particularly the structure in which it's set up. The elements that we have in this bill, and we're on 1355 in case you're wondering where we are. I don't know if anyone has additional amendments, but certainly if you do have those, you should probably make your way to the front. But
And Representative Soper, I appreciate you directing traffic, but if we could speak to the bill.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, what we really don't like in this bill is that it creates a nonprofit structure. And then it uses the police power of the state to say that if you're a producer that's being forced to join this nonprofit structure, so it's forced association, which is a violation of one of our constitutional rights, you're forced to join this nonprofit, and then you don't pay dues to the nonprofit, then the police powers of the state through the executive director of the CDPHE can come in and they can fine you or they can pull your business license. That's one thing that's of great concern to us is just the legal structure that's being set up here, the precedent that this could be used in other areas of law. I think that all of us would agree that we could definitely do a better job of recycling, but recycling should be led by the individual producers themselves, not forced through an act of government. Also, this should be a voluntary program, completely voluntary, not one that you have to join. With that, Mr. Chair, I would move Amendment L031.
1 second, we'll get that displayed.
So, yeah. Could we take this 1 minute recess?
The House will stand in a brief recess. The House will come to order. Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it is an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
I am happy to say that we worked closely with my colleague here and others to come up with some amendments that we're really happy to adopt. Just kind of clarifying some things and I guess tightening up the language a bit, right? And so I ask for your support on this amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L31 to House Bill 1355. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill, Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just ask for your support on House Bill 1355.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1355? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1355 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1355 as amended passes. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1383.
House Bill 1383 by Representatives Kipp and Holtorf, also Senator Lee, concerning increasing the workforce by removing barriers to employment opportunities for juveniles.
Representative Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move HB 22-1383 and the Judiciary Report.
To the Judiciary Committee report.
Well,
Representative Kipp.
thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Judiciary Report, we put on some amendments to make it more clear what we were doing and taking some of people's heartburn away out of this bill, frankly, and I think it's in a much better place now.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to let the Chamber know that we worked very closely with the Chamber of Commerce. We worked very closely with other stakeholders, and we wanted to meet every concern and be very transparent in what we were trying to accomplish. And we continued. And if you see Representative Kipp running, it's because we continued that effort all the way until second readings. And so she's just about back. And we continue, even to this very moment, working.
And we so appreciate that. Representative Kipp.
Yes, thank you. And we actually have an amendment to offer to the Judiciary Report, which is going to further clarify and bring more people to be happy about our bill. And would you like to discuss that, Representative Holtorf?
And if we could just move the amendment?
I apologize. I move L004.
1 second, we will get that displayed. The amendment is properly before us. Representative Holtorf, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In our continued effort to stakeholder and listen to everyone's concerns, I'll get to that. We also listen to law enforcement. And this amendment came from our law enforcement, our friends in law enforcement. And so this particular amendment was in collaboration also with the Council of State Governments, who has been advocating for this, as well as my co-prime sponsor and I. And that ensures that Colorado law enforcement agencies can continue to have access to the records for employment to hire individuals in the best interest of public safety. We know that in law enforcement, you want to have really high levels of character and integrity, and you want to make sure that you have the right people in law enforcement. We have debated and discussed so many issues with law enforcement, and there's nothing worse than a law enforcement officer who lacks integrity, character, and a spirit of public service. So this is going to protect our citizens. It's going to make sure that we have the best law enforcement candidates and those that serve to protect our communities.
Representative Kipp.
Thank you. And also, Representatives Carver and Larson brought up some points that they thought that there needed to be some clarifying language. So we've attempted to clarify in this amendment what the bill is intending to do.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L4 to the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the committee report. Representative Holtorf.
I think
Representative
we've already
Kipp?
described it, and I think we did a great job of bringing all of our stakeholders together and addressing their concerns.
Representative Holtorf.
But if you weren't convinced, the bill provides funding to the State Department of Human Services for vocational training and programs in the Division of Youth Services, prohibits employers from considering certain information related to a job application for juvenile delinquency records, and increases an expenditure in 22, 23, and 23, 24.
Any further discussion on the Judiciary Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Judiciary Committee report is passed. To the bill. Representative Kipp.
Thank you. So really there are two parts to this bill. And the part that's really more in my wheelhouse, because I usually don't end up in the Judiciary Committee, is the part about education and employment. So really, originally this bill started off as an idea to help kids who are committed, and committed means basically in kid prison, right? They've committed some kind of offense, and we want to make sure that they get the education and training they need in order to be successful once they are no longer committed. And then when they move on to employment, the other parts of the bill are trying to keep them from being discriminated against. So we were able to remove the appropriation from this bill, so we didn't really have to do anything in the Appropriations Committee because the money was appropriated in the long bill. So what our bill does is it directs the department to spend the money as was intended when it was appropriated in the long bill, which is to purchase vocational program equipment and outdoor storage structures to advance the skills of juveniles and careers that juveniles can maintain once released from the custody of the department, updating existing physical space for learning and replacing outdated vocational and technical equipment, contracting with Colorado State University Pueblo as established in another section of the law, and other institutions of higher education as appropriate for mobile learning labs, and updating technology and computer equipment for education, programming, and expansion. I will tell you, really, the genesis of this bill was an email I got from a parent who has a kid who is serving time in one of our youth facilities. And that kid was really trying to do his best to achieve a post-secondary education, to get some advanced learning through CSU Pueblo. But he was actually having to do it through correspondence courses, like using papers and pencils, because he didn't have access to any kind of technology. And in this day and age, that just seems kind of ridiculous. And so that kind of set us on the path to work on this bill. Would you like to talk about the rest of it?
Representative Holtorf.
And thank you to my co-prime. Many of you know in this chamber that I have a soft spot in my heart for helping people that have had problems with past criminal activity, have gotten in trouble with the law, if you will, and giving them a second chance to jumpstart their lives. And that the best second chance for most people, particularly juveniles, is to get back in the workforce, get to work, have that meaningful employment, and be able to do the things that will reintegrate them into society. And this particular bill helps them do that. It protects some of these juvenile delinquents and some of the records, with the exception of protected persons and now law enforcement with the amendment. But it really gives these young people a chance to integrate into the workforce, and it's just a good bill for getting folks in that have had trouble back and integrated. And I think it's a pathway for that, and that's why I'm with my co-prime here, supporting her and trying to get this bill into statute.
Any further? Representative Kipp.
And I just would like to thank Representative Holtorf for joining me on this bill. It has been an honor to find common ground here.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1383? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1383 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1383 as amended passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1381.
House Bill 1381 by Representatives Titone and McKean, also Senators Winter and Woodward, concerning the creation of a geothermal energy grant program to facilitate the development of geothermal energy resources.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1381, the Finance Report, and the Energy and Environment Report.
To the Finance Report.
All right, in the Finance Committee, we changed a couple of the things on how much the grant program gives out for different programs, and then we also changed the buckets to accommodate more flexibility. Ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Finance Committee report passes. To the Energy and Environment report, Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we presented this bill, and we had one amendment. What we really wanted to do was make sure that we included in this entire program what a community district geothermal project would look like and how much we could invest in it. We got that passed in committee.
Further discussion on the Energy and Environment Committee report. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Energy and Environment Committee report passes. To the bill.
Sure.
Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Folks, this is kind of part and parcel of the things that I think of when I consider an all of the above energy approach. And geothermal energy is something that we use in a residential sense for heat pumps and other things, but the ability to use the differential between heat and cold is very effective both in commercial structures. In fact, this very Capitol has a heat pump in its sub-basement that gives you all of the heat and the cold that you need in this Capitol. And so we're able to even convert historic structures like this one to be very efficient and use the Earth's temperature to help us out. In addition, Colorado has areas where we have high geothermal heat. We have, if you want to think about Glenwood Springs and Ouray and these areas where we have hot spots that are close to the surface, and those also present us opportunities. So this bill is a way of making sure that we look at and use and incentivize the use of these kinds of energy production, because the more we can do with what we already have, the less we got to burn, the less we got to do other things with, the less solar panels we have out on our pastures and windmills out on the high plains. So it's a good bill. I would vote yes.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, we're talking about grants for different construction of new projects, single structure, geothermal, community district heating, and the geothermal energy. And, we think about geothermal energy in Iceland and places where it's really, really hot. But, technology has really come a long way, and now they're able to use different fluids to produce turbine movement. It's at a lot lower temperature. And that's something that we do have here in Colorado, and we need to do that. And, I don't know if you know this, but I am a geologist, and I love this bill so much that I have an amendment I'd like to run on it. And I'd like to move Amendment L004. And have it displayed.
And the amendment is properly before us. Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And if it would please the body, if we could please maybe name this amendment the homage to dot matrix printers, that would probably be a great thing too.
I'm not sure that's a proper motion, but we'll keep going with this. Representative Titone.
Yeah, so you could see here in the amendment, it's after a person, we're putting a picture of me. Because I'm a geologist and I love geothermal energy, and I ask for a no vote on the amendment.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I actually quite like the amendment. I think it's a very good likeness. So I actually think we ought to reject the no vote and go ahead and adopt the amendment, because one thing that I've really felt offensive in regards to reading our statute books, and I know Representative Weissman will agree with me, and probably Representative Byrd with what I'm about to say, and Representative Roberts, is that the statute books would be so much more interesting if they had pictures in them. And that this would allow us to be one of the first states to actually have a picture in our statute books. So Mr. Chair, I do think we should adopt this amendment. I think it would send a bold message to other states that we actually like to picture what we're talking about.
And this has been an illuminating discussion. Any other discussion on the amendment? Representative Tatone.
Mr. Chair, I withdraw my motion.
I
for the
thought that
amendment.
might happen, and
God forbid
thank
it
you,
gets in
Representative Tatone. Further discussion on House Bill 1381. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1381 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1381 as amended passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1345 until after House Bill 1011.
At the request of the Assistant Majority Leader, House Bill 1345 will be laid over until after House Bill 1011. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1107.
House Bill 1107 by Representatives Young and Bradfield, also Senators Cook and Bridges, concerning measures related to creating higher education opportunities for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Representative Young.
Mr. Chair, it is a great honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, Representative Young.
I move House Bill 22-1107 and the Appropriations Report.
To the Appropriations Report.
We were excited to be appropriated the money we need to establish an inclusive higher ed grant program. I urge and I vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill started out in 2016, and we had a 5-year pilot program of having students with intellectual and disabilities enroll in college classes. And this at 3 different educational institutions. Colorado State University, University of Colorado in Colorado Springs, and Arapahoe Community College in South Denver, or Arapahoe County. So this program was so successful, and the people in charge were so proud of what they had accomplished that they told very many other higher education institutions about this program, and the word spread, and the desire is to expand the program.
Representative Young.
Mr. Chair, I am excited to show you another one of the original programs, Go Bears, the University of Northern Colorado. And as my co-prime has indicated, this has been a very successful program. The first in our state to allow those with intellectual disabilities to access higher education. And it has been so successful that we have had graduates from the program. We have a waiting list every year for applications, and we see students being able to access careers that they previously haven't been able to access, including brewery workers, healthcare workers, and it really moves us outside of that ability to have workers not working in lower paying jobs. And so, as my co-prime indicated, this is such a successful program that there is interest from at least 5 other institutions of higher education across the state. And this grant program that we're establishing will allow new schools to become involved, and it will allow for an expansion of the programming. And we have students already from across the state involved with these programs.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank my co-prime, Mary Young. I certainly appreciate working with you. I want to let you know that students who graduated had degrees in healthcare, advocacy, brewing studies, communication, and human services. These people found because of this program, their social development, their ability to be independent was highly advanced, and they had a great deal of academic growth, and found that many of these students were able to navigate their college career on their own and live independently. And that is saying quite a lot. I'll let you try something. Okay. Oh, we did that. Here.
I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1107? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1107 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1107 as amended passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1011.
Man, you're busy tonight.
House Bill 1011 by Representatives Cutter and Snyder, also Senators Story and Lee, concerning the establishment of a state grant program that provides funding to local governments that dedicate resources for wildfire mitigation purposes.
Representative
Okay.
Snyder.
No hurry. So I've been told.
Representative
Yeah, we are. Are you going to want to go on that side?
No, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Representative Snyder. Representative Snyder.
Thank you. So, members, we had so much fun getting this bill passed on seconds yesterday. We're back again today to give it yet another try. And so with that, Mr. Chair, we move House Bill 1011, the Energy and Environment Report, and the Appropriations Report.
There's no Energy and Environment Report, just an Appropriations Report.
Okay. And, yeah, so it is a corrected appropriation report. I believe that's the correct term.
To the corrected Appropriations Report.
And actually, I would move L004, an amendment to that corrected appropriations report.
Heads are going to roll, Snyder.
L4 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you. So just again, we were over in appropriations across the building over there and got things cleaned up. We had a little technical difficulty on the first time. Go ahead.
Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just think of Groundhog Day. Pretend it's February 2nd, and that's where we're at.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L4 to the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the Appropriations Committee report.
So as amended, the appropriations report now correctly states that we have reduced our amount of grant funding in half. But we're still very excited about the program. We think we have enough money to really get this going and make a real change in the wildfire mitigation space. So we would ask for a yes on the appropriations report.
Any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this bill is setting up a state matching grant program for local governments to apply for a matching grant for wildfire mitigation efforts. And we're trying to incentivize these governments, these local entities to have some kind of participation, to make it a partnership and leverage state dollars so that we can get much more mileage out of them by constructing it this way. And we ask for your support.
Representative Snyder.
As we said yesterday, thank you, Mr. Chair. This really is a all-hands-on-deck situation. We all know that our fire seasons have gotten worse, and this year in particular eerily reminds me of 2012. And that was a very pivotal year down where I live. I hope that's not the case, but I have a deep-seated fear that we're heading into the same situation. What we really like about this program is we went through a lot of stakeholdering, and we figured out that any local government, a county, a city, municipalities, if they are willing to dedicate some funding to fire mitigation, they will be eligible for this program. And we're hoping that that combination of those two will really begin a grassroots effort in many of Colorado communities to really keep the pressure on and keep up our mitigation efforts. So it's a good bill, and we ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1011? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1011 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1011 as amended passes.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Madam Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1345, one bill.
At the request of the Assistant Majority Leader, House Bill 1345 will be laid over until after Senate Bill 18. Mr. Schiebel.
After 1051.
Excuse me, after House Bill 1051. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1051.
House Bill 1051 by Representatives Burton McKean, also Senators Zenzinger and Heisey, concerning modification of the Colorado Affordable Housing Tax Credit and in connection therewith, extending the time during which the credit may be claimed and increasing the yearly amount of credits that can be allocated.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1051 and the Finance Committee report and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the Appropriations Committee report.
In the Appropriations Committee, we changed the sunset so that the tax credit will expire in 8 years rather than the original 15-year extension we had in the bill. And let me double check. That might be it. That is it. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report passes. To the Finance Committee report. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Finance Committee, we just made clear that the authority, the Housing Authority would be able to allocate a credit to an owner of a qualified development by issuing to the owner an allocation certificate. I ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The Finance Committee report passes. To the bill, Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you very much. This is a tax credit that brings investment into affordable housing in this state, investment of not only outside entities, but investment of commercial builders who come in to help build affordable housing. This is not only an important thing, we've been talking about it on and off all day, but truly it is one of the keys for whatever period of time we're in right now where we've got to get some of this done so that families have some options. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know we're trying to be brief here, but I do want to underscore, members, that this tax credit has been one of the most effective tools in allowing the state of Colorado to build more housing that is affordable to more families and to also preserve housing all throughout the state. Colorado has long had a housing affordability crisis, and the work that we will be doing by approving this tax credit will make a meaningful difference to so many people within the state of Colorado. I urge a yes vote as well.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1051? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1051 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1051 as amended passes. Madam Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1345, two bills after Senate Bill 99.
At the request of the Assistant Majority Leader, House Bill 1345 will be laid over until after Senate Bill 99. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of Senate Bill 18.
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Senate Bill 18 by Senators Lean,
We don't
Cook, also
have it.
Representatives Benavides and Soper, concerning expanding the court reminder program and in connection with earthquake and appropriation.
To the bill, Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Appropriations Committee report and the bill.
And there is no Appropriations Committee report, it's just the bill.
Okay, just the bill.
Oh, well, thank you.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Slightly surprising.
We went to approach.
Yeah.
We went there.
Yeah. Apparently we were in appropriations, but have no report. But we'll take that. So to the bill itself, members, this is expanding a bill that we passed a couple of years ago. It's the courtroom reminder bill. Instead of having it be an opt-in, it makes it an opt-out. Because what we have seen over the last number of years throughout the pandemic is that it's those who have participated have been able to actually get to court and be able to resolve their case by just the reminder of a text message. And as I was telling Representative Benavides, certainly if I had received a text message, I also would have gone to appropriations and have heard the bill.
We had no reports.
But apparently we had no report, so it didn't really matter. But this is a really good mechanism for being able to ensure that defendants show up, they stay on their case, they don't end up having a missed appearance, which then results in a failure to appear charge being on their record. It could then be an arrest. That means that they're getting their case off track, and they can have multiple arrests on their record. It becomes very difficult for them to ever clear that up and creates lots of hardship for that particular defendant. So this is a really good bill. It's just using simple technology to be able to remind individuals of their court date.
Madam Speaker Pro Tem Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to add to what my co-sponsor indicated is that this will reach a number of people to remind them of the court date. And normally they'll receive 3 texts starting the week before so they can make sure they figure out the transportation, the child care, the absence from work, whatever it takes to get them to court. And this is really important because it saves money not only for the counties themselves, but through the jails and the whole system. Because you can imagine when someone is scheduled for court, it's not just them showing up. There's a judge, there's all the people working in the courtroom, there might be a police officer that shows up, there's all kinds of things that appear. So all of those will be saved. And when you think about who is in our county jails, roughly 1/3 to up to 60% of the people in county jails are there on failure to appear warrants. So that, not having to deal with that in our county jails will save our counties a ton of money. So this is being done in other jurisdictions. Jefferson County has been doing it for a long time, but this will make it statewide, and it should really help counties. So I urge a yes vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 18? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 18. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Senate Bill 18 is adopted. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 99.
Senate Bill 99 by Senators Heisey and Rodriguez, also Representatives Tipper and Larson, concerning the procedure for sealing of criminal records for nonviolent offenses and in connection therewith, addressing workforce shortages, minimizing barriers to employment for job seekers, and making appropriation.
Representative Larson.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 99, and there are no committee reports?
Nope, just the bill. You were to the bill. Go for it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you. So, members, this is a great bill. Very excited to bring it forward to you. We are hopefully going to continue a near unanimous, only one no vote in the Senate, but a near unanimous record. And this is truly one of those bills where kind of everybody comes together. This is a bill about offering a clean slate, a second chance, as you will, to people who may have committed crimes in their past, but are able to kind of conceal those and go through our normal court sealing record process. Essentially what this bill does is it does not change the eligibility for court sealing, but what it does is make that an automated process as opposed to now where it is a voluntary process that you have to go through an application. So this is a great bill where we can just bring in more people into the workforce and frankly get people back into the economy producing, I apologize, Representative Sirota, but get people back into the economy, getting lucrative jobs, and with that I will hand it over to my co-prime, Representative Tipper.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will take the wheel. As my co-prime said, what this bill does is it doesn't make any substantive changes to the types of convictions that are eligible for sealing. It just automates the process of sealing. It's expensive. You often have to hire a lawyer to go through the process of sealing your records. This also clarifies that for non-conviction records, so in the event that you're arrested but charges are never pressed, or you are charged but are acquitted, found not guilty, that process of sealing the arrest records is automated. In short, these were never intended to be life sentences, but in effect, that's what they've become absent sealing. And so this bill is a product of tremendous stakeholding, really years in the making. We're proud of this end product and ask for a yes vote on Senate Bill 99.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 99? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 99. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Senate Bill 99 is adopted. Madam Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess we've made it to the point where I move to lay over House Bill 1345. Are you ready? Okay, never mind. I withdraw my motion.
Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1345.
House Bill 1345 by Representatives Cutter and Bradfield, concerning measures to increase protections from perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl chemicals.
Thought I was ready.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today we're going to talk about
And Representative Bradfield, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We just need you to move the Energy and Environment Committee report and then the bill.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I would like to move the Energy and Environment Report and the bill, HB 22-1345.
Thank you, Representative Bradfield. To the Energy and Environment Committee report.
We want to have start out with an amendment to that that report.
And we'll just need you to move the amendment.
We are going to, I move Amendment L012 and ask that it be displayed.
And it looks like it's properly before us. Tell us about your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. it might be easiest to explain the amendments as a package. Could we move all the, would it be possible?
I think we have to move them one at a time, but
one
if
at
it's
a time.
helpful to give context on what they're all doing, we can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you very much. So, hold on here. I'm going to make sure I get all the right info. These, we have several amendments that will be moving throughout the process, but I want to make sure I'm giving you the correct narrative. So, changes that we're making throughout all of this include further narrowing the list of products that will be restricted, including a labeling requirement for cookware, removing potential rulemaking, removing new reporting requirements, removing most of Section 4 related to new requirements on firefighting foam, making some technical cleanup changes requested by CDPHE, and making additional changes for airport fuel facilities as requested by industry. So it's not, they're all kind of sprinkled throughout, so thank you.
Great. And if there's information specific to each one, happy to entertain that, but any further discussion on Amendment L12? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L12 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. L12 is adopted. To the committee report.
You need to, yeah.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move Amendment L13 to the committee report and ask that it be displayed.
We'll get that displayed. One second.
Do you have that?
The amendment is properly before us. Please tell us about your amendment.
I don't have anything.
Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I said, we drafted all these amendments this evening, so I pretty much spelled them out in the narrative. I can't tell you exactly what this one does. I think this is the one that narrows some of the categories of products that we're looking at. And we ask for your aye vote.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L13 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes.
Individually, right.
To the committee report.
Of course.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know you'd really like to get to the committee report, and we would too. However, I move L014 and ask that it be displayed, please.
We'll get that displayed. One second here. Any further discussion on L14? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L14 to the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment L14 passes. Back to the committee report. Representative Bradfield.
This is beginning to sound a little repetitious. I'd like to move L015 to the committee report and ask that it be displayed.
We'll get that displayed here. One second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Representative Cutter, the amendment is before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This one just deals with the cookware piece, basically removing cookware as a product category we're considering. And we ask for your support.
Representative Bradfield.
I'd like to move Amendment 016 to the committee report. This one is important because it makes corrections.
And Representative Bradfield, I just want to clarify, is this amendment to the committee report or is the amendment to L15? And if we could just move that one more time, move L16 to L15, I think that'd be helpful.
Sure, be glad to. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move Amendment 016 to Amendment 015.
1 second, we'll get 16 in front of us. Amendment L16 is properly before us. Any additional comments? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L16 to Amendment L15. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. And we are back to Amendment L15. Representative Cutter, any further discussion?
1 minute. What are we doing with it? It amended L15,
Yeah.
so we don't want it.
We want to pass 15.
Is that amend? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we need to pass 15 since it's amended by 16.
Mhm.
Okay. So do we move it?
I think
We're on L15. Okay.
We're on L15 as amended by L16.
Okay, then
Representative Cutter.
then we would just like to ask for an aye vote on Amendment L15 as amended by L16.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L15 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. We are right back to the committee report. Representative Cutter.
Wait a minute. We don't have any more amendments to move.
No.
Okay.
Uh,
Can I talk about the bill? Okay. We're
You
good.
have-
Sorry, we're good. We
You
just
have
need to
this
pass the
one.
committee.
But that's to the bill.
That's to the bill.
Okay.
And we're to the committee report.
Do we move that?
Any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Energy and Environment Committee report as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Energy and Environment Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Cutter.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finally, we're to the bill. So this bill is about PFAS, which are human-created forever chemicals that were especially engineered to be indestructible. They're resistant to both heat and water. And because of this, products containing PFAS ultimately contaminate our landfill, drain into our rivers, and end up into our air if they're burned. According to the EPA, PFAS forever chemicals have been linked to serious health impacts like cancer, organ damage, and suppression of the immune system. Newborns and young children are especially vulnerable. So because of these concerns, companies are working to remove PFAS from products like juvenile products, home furnishings, makeup, cookware, food packaging, things like that. And with our bill, we're eliminating PFAS from several consumer categories of consumer products. After January 1st, 2024, restrictions will be placed on several product categories, some of which we amended out tonight. But they include carpets or rugs, mattresses, upholstered furniture, cosmetics, juvenile products, some food packaging, and some oil and gas products.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Safe water is a very important issue to the people in my district. We were the one that had the PFAS contamination in the groundwater, and that's why I felt that it was very valuable to step forward and participate in some legislation related to PFAS. Everyone I've spoken to about this, including industry and business leaders, as well as environmental activists, agree that we need to take PFAS contamination of groundwater seriously. And in our district, that certainly has happened. And it's also important that we ensure that any policies we pass here are based on solid science, since what we know and call PFAS is actually a broad range of chemistries. And we rely on certain kinds of PFAS for everything from semiconductors to solar panels to electric vehicle engines. These amendments represent important changes to the bill that are the result of conversations with experts, concerned citizens, manufacturers, businesses that create the products we use every day. PFAS is a chemical compound that is a miracle compound, and it is also a health hazard. But not all PFAS compounds are the same, and they need to be separated out into what is environmentally dangerous and what is environmentally solid, stable. And when you do that, then the list of the things that contain PFAS that could be hazardous to your health, that number shrinks. Let me also say that when PFAS was created, it was the best thing since peanut butter, and was used and is used still quite liberally. And now science and industry and manufacturers are moving themselves away from the use of PFAS to other compounds that are safer. But there still remains enough of it in the products we use that it can be and could be a problem. Hence, we come with this bill. I do want to thank each and every stakeholder that contributed to this conversations. I feel comfortable now that this is a bill that will take steps to address potentially harmful uses of PFAS without the potential of being overly broad with regulations that would take safe products off the shelves. I'd like to thank my co-prime sponsor for partnering on a bipartisan bill. While I know that the negotiation process is not always easy, I think that we will end up with better policies for Coloradoans when we are willing to work across the aisle and listen to diverse perspectives.
Representative Gutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do, this has been quite a journey. I've been working on this bill for months and months, and I want to, Rep. Bradfield joined me, and I want to thank her for that, and thank her for working so hard with me to find a path forward on this. As she said, we've made significant changes to narrow this bill in response to a lot of stakeholder discussions and collaboration, and we appreciate all the work and hope you can join us in supporting that today.
Assistant Minority Leader Geithner.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to say to the sponsors, I appreciate you you both working on this. I'm not quite sure exactly where I will land on this on third reading, but certainly I know that there's been a lot of attention to this, and it may be even at some point a little bit of friction point, but you know, I think we've gotten to a place where we are right now, and I appreciate the work that was done, and I just wanted to express my gratitude and thanks to both of the sponsors.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1345? Representative Holtorf.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank the bill sponsors for coming together at the end. At the end. Not at the beginning, not at the middle, but at the end, working on a bill that wasn't in a very good place, but now I think it's in a good place. So I want to thank the bill sponsors for coming together at the end. I don't know if this is the right model, but what matters is what you get in the end. Thank you.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1345? Seeing none, Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We need to move L010 and ask that it be properly displayed. 10's to the bill. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
L10 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment simply says that if the executive director determines that the requirements described are no longer applied to a particular industry or section, then they shall provide notice to the department's website of this determination and promulgate rules accordingly. And we ask for your support.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Representative Cutter.
I'm sorry. I left out the end part about firefighting foam. Let's see, it will promulgate rules prohibiting users of Class B firefighting foam within that industry or sector from using Class B firefighting foam in violation of the section. And that shall apply no sooner than 2 years after the executive director's determination. So we include the firefighting foam in that section. Sorry, I left that part out.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate Rep. Cutter reading that section about the firefighting foam. As one of the state's largest tank farms is in my district, and the PFAS foam for laying down a fire is still the most effective product out there and will continue to be used only for that until something better is developed. So thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? I think we got it. The question before us is the adoption of Amendment L10 to House Bill 1345. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill. Any further discussion on House Bill 1345?
None.
Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1345 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1345 passes.
I'm going to go home and go to bed now.
Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to HCR 22-1006.
House Concurrent Resolution 1006 by Representatives Will and Ortiz, also Senators Rodriguez and Smallwood, submitting to the registered electors of the state of Colorado an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the conduct of charitable gaming activities and in connection therewith, allowing managers and operators to be paid and repealing the required period of a charitable organization's continuous existence before obtaining a charitable gaming license.
Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, sir.
So I move House Concurrent Resolution 22-1006.
And we need you to move the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report.
Oh, I didn't know I had one of those. I move the Business Affairs and Committee report.
To the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report.
I don't have that.
Representative Ortiz.
He's got it. Okay.
Yep. In Business Affairs and Labor, we added amendments that would put it to 3 years instead of 5 years. So the original bill was going to allow nonprofit gaming to start at zero. In collaboration and stakeholdering with the gaming community, we decided 3 years was a good place to start. And given that we're coming on the other side of COVID-19, we didn't want the gaming community to be competing with raffle bingo, so we set compensation up to but not over minimum wage, and this was something else that stakeholdering with the gaming community wanted. I urge and I vote.
Any further discussion on the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment, and I would like to move HCR 1006 and move L005 and ask that it be displayed.
We'll get that displayed. 1 second. L5 is properly before us. Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What this amendment does, and it was requested by the Secretary of State, in particular the division that oversees and regulates charitable gaming, bingo, raffles, and pull tabs. So the Secretary of State office, under current law, receives and reviews complaints about failures to comply with laws and regulations around charitable gaming. But since this resolution the way it's currently drafted, will allow individuals helping to staff and manage these charitable games, like bingo, that they'll receive wages or compensation for helping out. And so this amendment clarifies that the Secretary of State office is not intended to receive or review those wage and employment complaints. And this amendment moves the wage and compensation complaints to be handled and reviewed by Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Makes all kinds of sense. And it was at the request of them that we run this amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L05 to HCR 1006. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the resolution. Representative Ortiz.
Yeah, my part for being involved in this is my experience with veteran service organizations, just to give you all an idea of what impact this has in the space. For the Mountain States Paralyzed Veterans of America, it is $250,000. Bingo raffle is $250,000 of our $500K budget. And what we do with that is we subsidize and pay for those that demonstrate a need to go to the wheelchair games. We will do morale days for the nursing staff and for the doctors and for the PTs and OTs that work at the spinal cord injury unit in the VA. And we also pay for scholarships and educational opportunities for the nurse aides and the nursing staff at the spinal cord injury unit center here at RVA here in Denver. So for all those reasons and more, this is a good bill. It's going to reduce the amount of time they have to wait from 5 to 3 years. It's going to allow gaming and raffle to continue helping communities like mine and like others. Urge and I vote.
Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We need this important legislation to assist the charitable gaming industry in Colorado here in incentivizing the volunteers and also the passage of a deferred measure to attract more nonprofits. In fact, if you look in the fiscal note, the first year we figure we'll attract about 188, and then the following year out about 220. So it's a revenue generator for the state as well. And, we need to reinvigorate this and reinvent and stop the downward spiral of this industry. And I think this HCR 1006 will do that. So I'd ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of HCR 221006 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution passes as amended. Madam Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the committee I'm just kidding. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report is under consideration the following touch bills being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1011 as amended, 1013 as amended, 1051 as amended, 1107 as amended, 1251 as amended, 1308 as amended, 1345 as amended, 1355 as amended, 1362 as amended, 1366 as amended, 1381 as amended, 1383 as amended, 1385 as amended, 1392 as amended. House Concurrent Resolution 1006 as amended. Passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 18 and 99 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
That was very nice. Representative Basenecker. Members, you have heard the motion. We have 4 amendments of the desk. They're all to the same bill. We'll start with the McKean amendments. Mr. Shebel, please read the first McKean Amendment L026 to House Bill 1355.
Representative McKean moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee and not adopting the following McKean Amendment L26 to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1355 is amended passed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Best amendment of the night. This amendment does good things. You want them done. Please vote yes.
Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this would dramatically basically gut the bill, so I'd ask for your no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the first McKean Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Sandridge, how do you vote? Unmute, please.
Yes.
Representative Sandridge votes yes. Representative Neville, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Neville votes yes. Representative Van Winkle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Van Winkle votes yes. Majority Leader Eskar, how do you vote?
No.
Majority Leader Eskar votes no. Representative McCormick, how do you vote?
No.
Representative McCormick votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Ortiz votes no. Representative Gray, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Gray votes no. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Representative Harrod, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Harrod votes no. Please close the machine. With 27 aye votes, 36 no votes, and 2 excuse, the first McKean Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole is lost. Mr. Shebel, please read the second McKean Amendment, which is L027 to House Bill 1355 to the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Representative McKean moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee and not adopting the following McKean Amendment L27 to House Bill 1355 to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1355 is amended passed.
Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Folks, this is a good amendment. This talks about some of the incentives within the bill. We would like to make sure that companies can say we're doing the work, so we'd like credit for that. Thank you.
Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would urge a yes vote on Amendment L027.
All right, the question before us is the adoption of the second McKean Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Sandridge, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Sandridge votes yes. Representative Neville, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Neville votes yes. Representative Van Winkle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Van Winkle votes yes. Majority Leader Eskar, how do you vote?
No.
Majority Leader Eskar votes no. Representative McCormick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McCormick votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Gray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Gray votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Representative Harrod, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Harrod votes yes. Please close the machine. With 59 aye votes, 4 no votes, and 2 excused, the second McKean Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Mr. Shebel, let's move to the SOPR amendments. Please read the first SOPR amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole, which is L029. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, and I'll let you read it.
Representative Sober moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Sober Amendment L29 that amends the underlying Cutter Amendment L6 to House Bill 1355 to show that the Sober Amendment L29 passed and that House Bill 1355 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the first Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
It has been properly moved and displayed to the amendment. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this amendment is reflective of one that we had a discussion on during the Committee of the Whole to show that lines 4 through 12, that's the lines to say that somehow the organization couldn't somehow be construed to be a government organization or a government actor, to go ahead and strike that, but still say that the rest of the Cutter Amendment went ahead and passed with the Soper Amendment, which is L29, also passed, amending that amendment. And I'd ask for a yes vote.
Told you it was complicated. Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't even understand any of that, but I ask for your no vote on that amendment, please.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the first Soper Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Sandridge, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Sandridge votes yes. Representative Neville, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Neville votes yes. Representative Van Winkle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Van Winkle votes yes. Majority Leader Escar, how do you vote?
No.
Majority Leader Escar votes no. Representative McCormick, how do you vote?
No.
Representative McCormick votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Ortiz votes no. Representative Gray, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Gray votes no. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
No.
Representative McLaughlin votes no. Representative Herod, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Herod votes no. Please close the machine. With 22 aye votes, 41 no votes, and 2 excuse, the first Soper Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole is lost. Mr. Shebel, please read the second Soper Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole, which is L0026 to House Bill 1355. Yeah, that's what sorry, that's what I thought I said, but the second Soper Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Sorry. Representative Sober moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Cutter Amendment L6 to House Bill 1355 to show that said amendment lost and that House Bill 1355 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the second Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
It has been properly moved and displayed to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this amendment goes ahead and reverses the action of Amendment L006, and I would ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the second Soper Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Sandridge, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Sandridge votes yes. Representative Neville, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Neville votes yes. Representative Van Winkle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Van Winkle votes yes. Majority Leader Escar, how do you vote?
No.
Majority Leader Escar votes no. Representative McCormick, how do you vote?
No.
Representative McCormick votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Ortiz votes no. Representative Gray, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Gray votes no. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
No.
Representative McLaughlin votes no. Representative Herod, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Herod votes no. Please close the machine. With 23 aye votes, 40 no votes, and 2 excused, the second Soper Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole is lost. That brings us to the Committee of the Whole report. The question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Sandridge, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Sandridge votes no. Representative Neville, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Neville votes no. Representative Van Winkle, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Van Winkle votes no. Majority Leader Escar, how do you vote?
Yes.
Majority Leader Escar votes yes. Representative McCormick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McCormick votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Gray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Gray votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Representative Harrod, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Harrod votes yes. Please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Great work tonight, members. So because of that, I think we can keep doing more work and be, I'm just kidding. No, we will have our weekend and we will be returning on Monday. So thank you, everyone. Before we adjourn, please
It's okay.
clear off
No,
your...
you don't have to do that.
No?
No. I talked to Kathy. Kathy said, just leave stuff there. They'll come in over the weekend because they were planning to come in and put everything away.
No.
Because they're the best. They're going to do it anyway. That's what she said. I asked, do we do that? And she goes, no, it's okay. Just leave it there. That's what she said. Look at
Members,
her.
please
That's what she's saying.
clear off your filing cabinets. And I move that the House stand in adjournment until Monday, May.
We have some work to do. Thank you for that, though. Thanks, everyone, for all your hard work. With that, Mr. Shebel, printing report.
Chief Clerk reports following bills have been printed correctly. House Bill 1412.
Printed report be printed in the journal. Delivery of bills to the governor.
The Chief Clerk of the House of Representatives
Delivery of
reports
bills to the
following.
governor will be printed in the journal. Message from the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, the Senate has
From
passed
the
on
Senate
third
will be
reading.
buried in the journal. Message from the reviser.
We herewith transmit without comment.
Reviser will be printed in the journal. Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1413 by Representatives Esgar and McKean, also Senators Fenberg and Holbert, concerning authority for the Executive Committee of the Legislative Council to allow remote testimony before legislative committees.
House Bill 1413 will be assigned to the Committee on State, Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs.
House Bill 1414 by Representatives Gonzalez Gutierrez and Michelson Janay, also Senators Pedersen and Fields, concerning providing healthy meals to all public school students and in connection therewith creating the Healthy School Meals for All program and providing funding for the program by capping itemized and standard state income tax deductions for taxpayers who have federal adjusted gross income of $300,000 or more.
House Bill 1414 will be assigned to the Committee on Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 177 by Senators Pedersen and Rankin, also Representatives Titone and Bradfield, concerning behavioral health system investments in the statewide care coordination infrastructure and in connection therewith making appropriation.
Senate Bill 177 will be assigned to the Committee on Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 200 by Senators Janal and Rankin, also Representatives Soper and McCluskey, concerning a grant program to improve access to health care in rural communities.
Senate Bill 200 will be assigned to the Committee on Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 213 by Senators Fields and Sonnenberg, also Representatives Valdez and Tipper, concerning continuing support for necessary child care programs and in connection therewith making appropriation.
Senate Bill 213 will be assigned to the Committee on Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 223 by Senator Hendrickson, also Representatives Lindsay and Snyder, concerning the requirement that businesses licensed to sell motor vehicles have a principal place of business.
Senate Bill 223 will be assigned to the Committee on Transportation and Local Government.
Senate Bill 228 by Senator Rodriguez, also Representative Valdez, concerning the requirement that retail establishments accept the United States currency.
Senate Bill 228 will be assigned to the Committee on Business Affairs and Labor.
Senate Bill 229 by Senators Story and Hawkins Lewis, also Representatives Burnett and Gray, concerning the conditions under which a public trustee shall release a deed of trust.
Senate Bill 229 will be assigned to the Committee on Business Affairs and Labor. Introduction of resolution.
House Joint Resolution 1025 by Representatives Esgar and McKean, also Senators Fenberg and Gardner, concerning the designation of the convening date for the first regular session of the 74th General Assembly and the addition of a joint rule establishing deadlines that apply to the Senate and House of Representatives for the session based on the convening date.
House Joint Resolution 1025 will be laid over one day per the rules. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Okay, now, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I move the House stand in adjournment until Monday, May 2nd at 10 a.m.
See no objection, the House will stand in adjournment until 10 a.m. on Monday, May 2nd.